This is the Atlanta Season 3, Episode 6, White Fashion Review. This week, we explore some more interesting themes, of course, in appropriation, diversity, capitalism, representation, silencing and watering down of Black culture in general, and ultimately the art of the finesse. The crew is in London to hear about a prospective opportunity for Paperboy. He's approached by Boucher, who's a fashion designer, and his marketing team to join a diversity advisory board. So think urban brand ambassadors to make a brand look more attainable for a group that they don't even market to in the first place. Along those lines, the designer Boucher presented his latest line of apparel, which was inspired by New York Central Park. This was a good little ad. And if you like history, just go look into that and see how this kind of is juxtaposed with the whole overall theme of this episode. Very interesting stuff. But in order to clean up what was considered racist by the Black community, his marketing team plans to employ a diversity advisory board made up of several influencers of color. Notice how I said of color, so they're not all Black. Or are they Black adjacent? Esco Esco is the company. They can't pay Al for his services, but they do offer him a contribution to a charity of his choosing. So let me pause right here. In my industry specifically, and honestly, I can say a lot of others, this is something that you want to steer clear of. When an entity basically wants to compensate you for your work as a trade for exposure, credit, or any other buzzword that they kind of throw at you, this is spec work. It's a complete no for me because you are what they want to expose for their gain. So why should they offer you little to lessen your worth financially? So just be careful when it comes to decisions like that because, yeah, it's not always an even trade-off. And there's typically more so something in it for them rather than you. Now, the charitable contribution of Al's choosing, it's cute, but keep in mind, it only adds to the company's credibility and brand perception. Since it's for a great cause, it makes them look like, this company's really doing the work. They're out here. They have their, ear to the ground. But they don't, in a way. So after hearing that pitch, Al essentially agrees he wants to partake in the Uncle Tom photo op for the free swag opportunities and the come up. Even though Earn is not really with it and knows he can afford anything at this point, he doesn't fully dissuade Al from moving forward with the idea. So he's on board, but he's kind of letting him explore for himself without taking full reins and control of the situation. But he gives his little 2 cents and everything. But again, just make sure that you thoroughly think about collaborations like that. Darius is Darius again, and he's on a mission to find some jollof with Sharon, who's the hospitality lead. She tried to look for it herself. I'm assuming she did her Googles, but comes up with nothing of note. Well, nothing of authentic note in his eyes specifically. But she has no idea what it is, can't find it, so she is intrigued. Now, jollof rice, I'm not getting into jollof wars because my country's often left out of the argument, which is where I'll stay. Nice, neutral. I like to keep it balanced over here. But I will say for a continent whose cuisines are largely ignored and not as common as other international dishes, this was hilarious to watch. Just expect more unnecessary hot takes on jollof rice. So the new diversity board rep, Paperboy, is invited to a press conference where Boucher has to apologize, and Paperboy's job is to co-sign and say that, they didn't mean it. It's okay. So just apologizing for white people's mistakes. This is what he was appointed to. He didn't know. He thought Khalil was joking, who was his cohort on the board, but he easily gets into the mix when he's asked, is racism over after this instance? So in Paperboy fashion, he responds respectfully, appropriately in this situation. Would have said nothing different. But I kind of wanted to hear what the rest he had to say. And he almost gets into the porn industry a little bit, but he's stopped by Khalil, who saves him, in this case, again. He assures the white crowd that racism will cease in 2024. So mark your calendars. I don't know if it's February 2024 or whenever, but yeah, racism will be over then. We go back to Darius and Sharon, who find an authentic Niger spot, Echo Chops. Darius has a connection with the head chef. Nice little cultural moment there. Meanwhile, Sharon immediately starts casing the place for pending appropriation. Like, she was just so wowed by the goings-ons, sights, the sounds, the smells. Now we want to film in the background. It was cultural overload for her, and she immediately saw dollar signs. But Darius is Darius, and he's just happy he got his moi moi. Earn spots Van in a hotel where she is accused by a random white woman of stealing. Now, Earn backs her and ends up getting a room comp for the night. So this is finesse lesson 1. Learn how to talk to these people and basically give them the same energy that they give you. Never back down from a situation, essentially, that I don't want to say, well, he didn't even really know what she did in that case, but yeah, just give that same energy of absurdity and see where it takes you. Like, don't do the most, how they typically, expect us to go off immediately. And like, that's our base reaction. So everything after is moot because it's a non-factor. Like, you're already at 100. They're not listening to you anymore. But just try that and see what happens. Report back. So Euro Karen gets booted out of the hotel for supreme justice and a tiny slice of redemption for the letdown we had last week, because we needed something. This did the trick. It brought it back up a little bit as far as justice served. Not all of it. It was nice seeing her get kicked out, but yeah. Earn is still worried about Van because her stories are not adding up. He actually called her mother, and her mom doesn't even know where she went. So she quickly retorts, like, does your mom know where you are? Like, it's very, I don't want to say childish at this point, but it's tit for tat. But I mean, she's not wrong. But at the same time, I don't think he would leave Atlanta without saying I'm going on tour. But that's just me. Van is out here tripping and just living life, apparently, and shopping and stealing, because she's been kind of klepto a couple times during the whole trip. So he has a right to be concerned, along with her kind of being aloof, because I know I didn't want to say that before, but she has kind of been out there as far as like not responding, texting back. Of course, he brings up like, them being parents and having to be responsible. Not to say you can't have your fun, but you kind of got to reel it back in and, live within reality. And at least check in. That's like literally the least you can do. I know she sent a thumbs up as a reply, but you took the time to do that. Why couldn't you just send a full text message? Yeah, check in at minimum. And where is Lottie, the baby genius? Don't let her be a plot hole. We can only assume at this point that she's with her grandparents, either set, but a little video chat or something, check in, make sure the kid's okay would be nice. But ultimately, Van says she's staying out of their way since they're busy with the tour and doesn't want to be, in the mix too much. So she's letting them do their thing. So we circle back to Al, who gets a chance to pitch the Reinvest Your Hood program to help Black people to the diversity board he's a part of, wearing the quintessential fake Gucci crew neck sweatshirt. Specifically, he wants to create a capsule collection and campaign to teach Black people how to reinvest into their communities. Great idea in theory. But the influencers are at first in it for themselves, and of course they want the perks and the benefits that the brand can sponsor them with. Circle back to his discussion with Earn earlier. He said he was in it for the swag. So, okay, sir. Now you see it. Now he sees them as himself through Earn's eyes, so he gets it now, and it clicks finally. He's able to reel them back in by proposing the full strategy and pitching it as more so doing better for your own communities. And they come to a consensus to move forward. Now, Darius. He meets another unhappy ending after revisiting Echo Chop, probably trying to get some more jollof, only to see that his cookery has been gentrified, bought, and flipped into a food truck. It hasn't even been 24 hours. The swift speed that she did this with, it's ridiculous. I'm amazed by that, but I'm not wowed by the appropriation. I don't want to say that I'm surprised in that facet, because I'm not, honestly, because, she was starry-eyed from the jump when they first came into the place. So you had an idea of what she was going to do next. Not only does he have his own personalized menu item, she also mentions cheesy jollof, that's just gross. The cultural culinary appropriation was immediate. She offers him a plate of his, signature dish, but he quickly throws it away. And a white woman on the street advises him to recycle that, which is hilarious because, ma'am, if only you knew. Hopefully, that experience will learn a lot of you to stop giving away your gems, your special spots, the cultural joints that hit, or even places that you find significant to you, to certain people. I'll say that. One of these, y'all gonna learn. Y'all gonna learn about giving away those gems, because not everybody has the best intention when it comes to things like that. Now Mimi and the rest of her staff are out here jobless because she essentially bought that location and shut it down. So we didn't really hear from them. So it's left up to interpretation on, they got canned. Which is another harmful issue when it comes to gentrification and the appropriation of certain things. Mind your business sometimes, people. It's free. So we are met with a terrible advertisement. Reinvest Your Hood is completely bastardized by the brand. No surprise there, of course. Al is over it. He's going off. They turned his pitch into a 90s Gap ad. I have no other way to describe it. Rather than focusing on the Black community as initially intended, it quickly becomes a billboard for inclusion and representation. Khalil pulls him aside and gives him some game on finessing a brand through a charity, because there's no way that they would fund their own demise. That line was great. But becoming their own worst enemy is not in a brand's priority list at all. This is a reminder to watch out who you are in a partnership with and milk those who are difficult. But don't do that. Remember your morals and stuff. Know what you stand for before you go into stuff like this. If you are ever given the opportunity to make a collaboration, do your research and your homework. Don't just sign anything and just write your life away and then end up having to do something you really don't want to do because you are contractually obligated. But yeah, white fashion built on Black plight. And milking the system isn't necessarily for everyone. So clearly Khalil felt empowered since he has his own not-for-profit. He's done it before, secured the bag on a number of different occasions. And moving forward, I guess this is how he feels secure in harboring partnerships like this. So Earn brings back this wonderful gem, Nick or Treat. Who was even thinking of that? Nick or Treat was Nickelodeon, a Halloween special basically that they kind of put on every Halloween. Peak 90s television there. I know y'all don't remember Pizza Dude. It's okay though. You don't have to. But do y'all remember Aria Monsters though? That was Inside the House That They Lost, but that you didn't want to meet any of the characters. Giveaways and TV, the whole interactivity of TV back then, it felt more personable. Now it's just scan this QR code. I mean, the convenience of that is great, obviously, because I don't have to send a freaking postcard to Scruff McGruff, Chicago, Illinois, 60652. But I still remember these things. Send it to Zoom. Boston, Mass. 02134. Like stuff like that, it sticks with you. We've already covered that, obviously. But the 90s. TV is not the same. Earn and Van spend the night in their comped hotel room in what looks like to us is, a time to reconnect, only for him to wake up alone to a ringing phone. Sad. And essentially back at square one with Van when he thought he had made progress in getting through to her a little bit about, being more mindful about communication and whereabouts, especially internationally, being safe, which is the responsible thing to do. He cares about her. Can't really fault him for that. It's valid. I guess we're going to catch up with Van later. But overall, this was a dope episode. It coalesced important themes very well without feeling burdensome and heavy. I'm not going to say it felt light. It tackled them in a meaningful way and kind of gave insight to each facet without glossing over it too quickly, mentioning it and not, running back for a resolution or even just the results of what happened because everything wasn't resolved or given a positive resolution. And give it up for us not having to deal with Socks and his bad hairline this episode. I know we still want that resolution and getting Al's phone back, but I was good with that. Hopefully he dove into the trash can that he threw the phone in. Just saying. We are well over halfway. There are only 4 more episodes left. Yeah, I can't believe it either. Don't be a sellout. Gracias.